Jiminy Christmas. Do you guys see that? Right there, that chick on the right. Holy moly guacamole. And look at frickin' Elmer Fudd to the left, man. Not to make fun of him, it's sad, but holy. God bless her soul.
We can't wait forever.
Judge thought that would be a good idea for a child, but that's kind of how it was for me. I pretty much got used to it. Also.
Okay. So, in the beginning, she basically just talks about her childhood, and she goes back and forth from house to house. We don't really need to go over that part. I want to find the part where she talks about Ryan, like she mentions Ryan Leone.
My mom was a Jehovah's Witness, which I personally feel like it was a cult. So that was really crazy.
I remember Ryan saying that in the videos.
It's kind of like they're, I don't know if you know anything about Jehovah's Witnesses, but they're very strict for one thing, and they're also just, it's very, very, your whole life is basically like going to church. Like we went like 4 days a week, and you couldn't have any friends that weren't Jehovah's Witnesses. Some of their beliefs are it's kind of scary for a little kid, I guess. Like some of the literature and stuff would have like, they believe in like Armageddon and stuff. So you'd have literature where you literally see like hellfire raining down on people and everybody's going to die that's not a Jehovah's Witness.
Are you talking about the Ryan Leone subreddit?
So it was really crazy. Luckily, my grandparents were not Jehovah's Witnesses, so they were kind of like my escape. They gave me my holidays and everything that every other child had. But it was crazy, you know, going from, you know, my mom and doing
those
that,
scars
and
on her face?
my grandparents over here on the other hand saying like, you don't need to.
Are those whiskers or are those scars on her face?
It was crazy and kind of confusing growing up. And I definitely.
Your grandparents were your mom's parents?
Yeah, they were my mom's parents. They were totally like, we don't know what got her into this, why she's into this. But it was definitely really crazy for a child. And I honestly kind of, I don't want to say blame, because I can't like blame anybody else or anything else on my addiction issues. But I think that was definitely just something, I guess, that maybe brought me towards the path I went down, I guess, eventually, because they're just so, like, when you're a child and you're growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, they want you to be separate from everybody else, you know? So you're almost like an outcast in school, because they don't want you to have any friends that aren't Jehovah's Witnesses, anything like that.
It's crazy.
So I definitely kind of grew up feeling, like, different than everybody else, I guess. And so I guess when I got older, I was kind of looking for that.
So what do you guys think? I mean, so far during the interview, she seems like, you know, based on my judge of her character so far, she seems like a kind of a nice woman. But obviously we all know many people can put on that image. They can appear compassionate, empathetic, etc., and they can be complete psychopaths, sociopaths. So let's dig in. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, you guys. Don't forget to hit the like button, you guys. It helps boost the video. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm like 29 subscribers away from getting monetized. Let's go. Let's get it. Hit that like, comment, donate if you can. I got a job interview today, so I'm probably not going to be needing donations in a couple weeks, but as of now, I'm broke. So anyways, hit the like. Tell me what you think about Ryan's crazy ex-wife. Rest in peace, Ryan Leone. He was the inspiration for my channel, creative genius, and he started a subgenre on YouTube. He literally kind of started the drug. He started the drug story, the drug tuber thing, kind of. Or actually, wait, no. I mean, I guess there's Goblin and there's Psyched Substance, but they're more like, I don't know. They're a lot. They're different, man. They're kind of just like, I don't see why so many people like those guys, but I don't know. Whatever.
Something, I guess. So that's kind of.
When did the harder drugs enter your life?
Well, the weird thing is I actually didn't. I mean, I definitely dabbled with drugs since I was a teenager. I started, smoking pot, kind of drinking alcohol, the same usual stuff that teenagers do. And then I did do cocaine. I did, mess around with ecstasy. But I didn't actually get into any harder drugs until I was, in my opinion, harder drugs, until I was like 29, which is kind of late in the game because, I went from having like a really good job and my own, condo and everything, all these nice things. And then...
Is this when she met
Ryan?
Ryan?
When I was 29 years old. We can get into that story, but I wound up trying heroin and meth for the first time. It's kind of a weird age to get into that, but...
And do you have kids?
I do. I have one son.
And did you raise him?
Yeah, up until he was 8 years old. Right now he's with his dad.
Is it because of your drug use?
Yes.
Yeah. And Matt, your drug use started when?
At the ripe age of 13. I started with weed. I started with alcohol, I guess, technically before that. I remember I got drunk with my brother. God, I can't even. I know Reagan was president, so it was before '88, so that would put me before.
Hey, I just saw something on here. I'm gonna read some comments real quick, you guys. She's got Band-Aids on her face. Oh, damn, you're right. That's Leone's ex-wife, definitely upgraded. Yeah, he upgraded, but I don't know. I have my own opinion about Karina, but that's neither here nor there. Would you think having makeup? She looks like she's 50. She definitely looks like the San Gabriel Valley, Inland Empire white girl stripper type. Yeah, but she's from Denver. You email Frank Leone often? Hey man, if anyone could get me into contact with Frank Leone, I would greatly appreciate that, man. I really would. So I loved Frank Fridays, man. Like, I really think that's where Ryan got his like class and his, he got his a lot of his charisma from,
Less than 11. And then I started smoking weed when I was 13, and it just progressed from there.
Right, and then you know what? Okay, here's what I'm gonna say about Ryan. What bothered me about Ryan's death and Karina's reaction on Facebook was when Ryan dies, and Karina posts this rant on Facebook saying, looks like I'm not going to be getting the help I thought I would from my deceased fiance's parents. Looks like I'm on my own here. And it was like a couple weeks after, maybe just even a week after he died. And it's like, maybe like try to maybe let them grieve, get to know them, build a relationship with them instead of just like going straight for the money. Like, I need money. It's like, Karina, let's be honest. You have gotten plenty of help. GoFundMe's. Seth Ferranti is helping you out. God knows who else is giving you money. So she hasn't worked since her and Ryan first met, and she worked at the salon. Get a freaking job. And I know that's going to sound harsh, and I probably said that a little too harsh, but that's just my opinion, man. Like, I don't know. So, whatever.
17 or 18, I was doing heroin. I went through everything else before that. All psychedelics and the, cocaine. We didn't have crystal back then; it was crank. But yeah, all that, and then by the time I was 18 years old, I was doing heroin. I think I was good. I was strung out probably by the time I was 19. And then I was also going to a lot of clubs and raves and stuff and taking a lot of hallucinogens, ecstasy and acid and DMT and, all the things that club kids and ravers do.
And do you have kids?
I do. I have a son.
Okay, this
he's
dude's
18.
kind of boring. Let's skip back to her.
Here and there, I might take... I was living in Colorado. I was working as an executive assistant.
Okay, here's the part, you guys.
I had my whole life together. Everything was going well. And like I said, at that point, I had kind of dabbled with like party drugs here and there. You know, I might take ecstasy at a rave, or I might, you know, do cocaine on a night, but I basically had my life together. I was like functioning and all
Don't
that.
tell me she's gonna blame it on Ryan. Don't tell me.
I'm an avid reader. I love to read, and
What?
I happened to read
We all know
a book.
She's an avid reader. She loves to read, you guys. We all know where this is going. She said, listen to how she set this up. She said, you know, I just like to do party drugs, little ecstasy, little coke, and I was an avid reader. I wonder whose book she's about to mention right now. I wonder whose book she's going to mention right now, and I wonder how she's going to correlate her drug use to that author. I mean, just a theory, maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what Kayla has to say. And if she says that, we're gonna go over this, and we're gonna dissect what she has to say.
Who was actually written by another one of your guests on the show. His name was Ryan Leone, and he wrote a book called Wasting Talent, and it's I don't know, I guess kind of a memoir about his own experience with heroin addiction. And the book was honestly one of the best books I've ever read, and I still stand by that. It's just a roller coaster of a ride. From the minute you pick up the book, it's just like in your face, like, wow, this is crazy. And a lot of the stories in the book actually are true, things that he went through. And I was so impressed by the book. And I mean, this is saying a lot because I read literally several books a month, like still to this day. So I was so impressed by the book that I actually sought the author out on Facebook. And I didn't know what he looked like. I didn't know, I knew he lived in California, but I didn't know what he looked like. I didn't know what age he was, anything about him. I just wanted to tell him how much I liked his book. And so I wrote him a message, and it turns out he was a guy who was, you know, maybe a couple years older than me, good looking guy.
Wait.
He was living
Couple years older than her? What? Hey, Ben Case, thanks for the $5 donation, buddy. Thanks for the $5 donation. I appreciate it, you guys. I'm saving up for a camera, a new laptop, so I can do more edited stories and stuff like that. I got a couple hundred saved up right now. Every dollar counts. $1, $5, $10, $20, whatever. It helps. So Ben Case, shout out for the donation. I'm really interested to see where this is gonna go. So let's continue. Let's dive in, guys. Let's keep it in. Keep focus.
a guy who was, you know, maybe a couple years older than me, good looking guy.
Wait, couple years older than her? What? So Ryan would be 37 right now. I'm 32. So she's only 2 years older than me? What?
She was living in Santa Barbara at the time, and I just wrote him a message and kind of a fan letter. And I just said, you know, I loved your book. It was so good. And, you know, I never expected him to write me back or anything. But he did write me back, and he was like, oh, thank you so much. And we just started, you know, kind of corresponding online. And he actually invited me to come out here to California to visit him. And so at the time, I had never met anybody that did heroin. It just wasn't in my circle of friends in Colorado. We didn't, you know, I didn't associate with anybody. I wasn't okay with it. I didn't want anything to do with it. And with Ryan, he had told me that he had had 3 years sober and that he had recently relapsed like 6 months prior. But I told him right away, like, I'm not okay with heroin. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't mess around with that. And he said, oh, no, I'm not doing heroin. I'm just doing, you know, like party drugs, like the same kind of things that I was doing. So cocaine, ecstasy. I said, oh, okay, well, that's fine. At the time, I didn't have any experience in the recovery world, so I didn't understand, you know, if you relapse.
So what do you guys think? I want to hear what your guys' opinions in the chat. What do you think she's about to do? So already she's kind of she's setting it up right now. She's setting it up to it seems like she's setting, like, kind of making a setup to say, because of him, I became an addict. And that's an interesting topic because I've dealt with that in my last relationship. I was with a girl, and so how it started with me was I was really dope sick one morning, and she's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I finally told her, I was like, "I'm a heroin addict." And she bought me some heroin. Well, eventually she kept buying me heroin. She eventually wanted to try some. So whose fault is it? Is it the person that does it, or is it the person that introduces him to it? I do think there is some responsibility for introducing someone to something. I really do. Because had any of us not been introduced to it, like, we probably wouldn't be where we are today. But it's what's the saying? Like, it's always like, you can always look back on something and say what could have been or what couldn't, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments, guys.
If you're doing like any kind of program like AA or NA, like, if you relapse, you're not supposed to do, it doesn't matter if you're not doing your drug of choice. Like, say your drug of choice is heroin and you relapse and you're drinking or you're doing ecstasy, like, you're still not in line with the program, basically. And so I didn't understand at the time. So I thought, oh, well, it's fine. You're drinking and you're doing party drugs. Well, that's fine. You're not doing heroin. That's the important thing. That was what I thought. So yeah, he invited me out here, and like right away, right when I stepped off the plane, we literally in the parking lot of the airport, we started doing Molly. I wound up doing GHB for the first time during that 10-day period. I mean, it was literally just a bender. It was literally like something out of his book. For the people that have read Wasting Talent, it was literally something that could be in like...
Okay, Kayla. Well, I hate to tell you, but when you read the book Wasting Talent and he describes this crazy life of benders and going on drug runs, doing heroin, doing speedballs, doing this, doing that, I mean, and he tells you he's 3 years sober, I mean, you kind of knew what you were getting into. You can't really play the innocent card here. I hate to tell you that, sweetie, but yeah, I'm not really going with that. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Hit that like button too.
Talent part 2. It was the second I walked off the plane, we were, doing Molly. We were doing GHB, drinking, cocaine. And this went on for like 10 days. It was just a complete bender. The whole thing was just a blur of just drug abuse and craziness and whatever. And at the end of this 10-day period, obviously neither one of us were thinking very clearly, because we thought it would be a great idea to get married. And keep in mind, this is somebody that I just met 10 days prior. My son didn't know him. My family didn't know him. We didn't even live in the same state. And so we wound up finding some random guy in a dive bar in Santa Barbara, who happened to be an ordained, somebody who's able to marry you, I guess. We literally met this guy in a dive bar.
Yo, that's wild. They met an ordained minister in a dive bar in Santa Barbara. Like, you cannot make this up. This is gold, man. I mean, rest in peace, Ryan, man. Rest in peace, Ryan, man. I'm not trying to be over dramatic, but like, I sometimes like feel kind of bad. Like, I feel some type of way about making content about Ryan and stuff like that. So like, I gotta just give like a tiny moment of silence. Like, I'm not trying to be like, this isn't me trying to be like, this is not me, a facade or anything like this. It really does come to my mind. It makes me kind of feel not right, but at the same time, like, this is somewhat a tribute to Ryan. I was a huge fan, Patreon for over a year, etc. And so let's dive in. Let's hear what she has to say.
Get our marriage license. On the way there, we were like snorting cocaine. And so we met this guy, and we didn't have a witness. So he was like, oh, I'll bring my wife. And so he brings his wife, who's like this cracked out lady from like, who knows where. And we got married in the beach. The wedding video of me and Ryan is ridiculous. He's wearing shorts and I think slippers and a hat, and like I'm wearing a dress at least, but it's like not a wedding dress, obviously. It's like some gray sundress, and like, yeah, so we got married on the beach after knowing each other for 10 days. And to this day, I think part of the reason why Ryan married me, other than the fact that neither one of us was thinking clearly, was probably to have some new material to write about, which it did give him probably some great material. But so yeah, that was how I wound up in California.
It's a fun story.
Yeah.
So Brett, you met Kayla when?
Wow, you guys.
Hey, do you ever walk into a room and completely forget why you're there?
Yeah, totally.
So Brett, you met Kayla when?
I met Kayla in rehab. Well, I wasn't in rehab. I had actually completed the program.
Damn, rehab romance. So, what do you guys think? Do you guys think Ryan married her for the stories? I tend to think Ryan married her because she had money. Because from my knowledge from the story, she had money before she met Ryan. So, you know, as much as I was saying that, like, you know, she knew what she was getting into, you know, there may have been a little bit of predatory behavior on Ryan's behalf too. So, but, you know.
I won't say what rehab, but she was in house, and I was in.
Sorry, guys. I don't know why I just did that.
Sober living, and
You picked me up to go to a meeting.
yeah, I took her to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. I shouldn't say that either, but I break their anonymity. Yeah, we went to a meeting.
Rehab
and,
romance.
We stayed sober together for like something like 6 weeks. Not
No.
No, a little bit
We were
longer than
like
that.
8 months sober or something like that.
Yeah, we were together and we were working a program.
Oh, well, you did relapse.
So, what do you guys think? Do you think they're living on Skid Row? I think they're probably living on Skid Row.
I fell off first.
No, actually, I did. But I had a relapse. Like,
But you fell off before we got together, technically. Really.
Yeah, we just met, and I had just graduated or completed the program, and I wound up relapsing, but it was like a 2-day relapse, and I was able to stop and like
So it
get
doesn't
back.
really count.
Hey, man, I've had a few rehab romances myself, bro. Never ended well. Usually ended in a Motel 6.
I got back on the horse, and I was back in AA. And then he relapsed.
And I did
And
not
I stayed sober.
make it back so easily.
So you guys have been together for how long?
It's been a little bit on and off, but basically for about a little over 4 years now.
That happened. That was in 2018 when we met. So right.
Yeah.
You're living where?
We were or we are now.
Where are you living now?
Right now we're living in
Shout out Ben
Pasadena in a
Case. Thanks for the
tent.
donation.
But we did have our own apartment in Hollywood.
Yeah. After
Hey, if anyone wants to sponsor the show, you got a product, you got a YouTube channel, a website, etc., email me at lukegtv22@gmail.com. I'll do extremely affordable advertising. I'll go great lengths for very small amounts of money. All donations are currently being saved for a camera. Not trying to shill or do any of that shit, but just got to throw that out there. But yeah, let's see where this goes. We might skip ahead and hear a little bit more of what Kayla has to say.
we left the program, I was in sober living. She completed the program, went to sober living, and then through differences of opinion, she was asked to leave. That said sober living.
That's a crazy.
And so she went and rented a room, and I joined her. Well, I was helping her find a place, I wasn't getting back on time and stuff because I was working a lot. At the time I was working for the studios.
Shout out Mass
and,
Big Baits in the chat.
So I just didn't have much time, and I
Shout
broke
out
the curfew, and they threw
1954
me out for breaking
Telecaster.
curfew. So then I joined her.
Shout
in
out
the
Morgan
room.
Mackin.
Should I tell him why I was asked to leave the
Richard
cell?
French.
That's a crazy story.
Yeah, I mean, you can.
If you care to know.
Anyway,
Paula,
so
shout out.
we were in
Thomas
a place
Huff,
in Hollywood,
shout
and
out.
I relapsed, and she helped me get back a couple times. So I went in and out, and she helped me get back in the program, and then
Yo, Fargo, that was the most underrated comment I've ever heard. Skip ahead to her cocaine story. Okay, yeah, I will. Okay, so let's.
fell off too.
Yeah.
The divorce took longer. Right?
Yeah, the divorce. All over Craigslist, and I wound up finding some weird thing. I forget exactly what it was, but it was like some guy who was like, it sounds so sketchy, and it was so sketchy. It was like some photographer guy who was looking for girls, and if he liked you, you could work at like his poker events or something super sketchy like that. Something.
You already divorced Ryan.
Oh yeah. So I should never have.
How long did that marriage last?
Oh God, 8 months. Yeah.
The divorce took longer. Right?
Yeah, the divorce took longer. But anyway, so I went and met this sketchy guy off Craigslist, and he took some photos of me, and all of a sudden, and this is at the top of my game when I'm sober, all of a sudden he whips out some cocaine, and he's like doing cocaine in front of me, and he's like, "Do you want some?" And I was like, "No, I don't actually. I'm good. I'm sober," but I was in the same vicinity of this guy doing cocaine. And, you know, I'm trying to stay strong. And I literally had no desire to do cocaine, because anybody who knows me knows, like, cocaine is not my drug. I don't like cocaine. I understand that people relapse all the time off drugs that aren't their drug of choice, but I don't like cocaine. If I'm going to relapse, it's not going to be on cocaine. And so I actually had no problem telling him no. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm fine. Well, at the end of the photo shoot, he wound up, like, asking me if he could kiss me. And, like, I did not want to kiss this guy at all. But it was kind of like an awkward situation. I kind of felt like, I don't know, I kind of felt like I had to, so I did. I wound up kissing this guy who had been doing cocaine. That's all that happened. You know, I left, and, you know, I thought that was the end of it. Well, maybe, I don't know, a couple of days later, I'm asked to do a drug test at my sober living. Lo and behold, I fail for cocaine. And I'm like, dude, I did not do cocaine. I did not do it. All I did was, you know, kiss this guy. So immediately, like, I freak out. I tell, you know, the sober living, like, what happened. And they were like, Kayla, you can't fail a test for cocaine just by kissing someone. Like, you.
Well, let's dig into this. So, I have heard multiple stories about people having sex with someone who has drugs in their system and then testing positive for it. I've heard multiple cases of that. So it's not like completely out of the question. It's actually quite possible. But is it likely? Probably not. I don't think it's too likely. Hey, what a do, Big Lou in the chat.
To have done cocaine. And I was like, I did not do cocaine. So they're like, okay, well, what we'll do is because it was just one of those like dipstick tests that you take. And they're like, okay, well, we'll just send the test to the lab. So that's going to take a week or whatever. Until then, you can stay and, you know, we'll see what happens. Well, during the course of that week, I took drug test after drug test after drug test. And I failed like 6 drug tests for cocaine.
There's no way.
Even long after I'd seen, so cocaine only stays in your system for 3 days. After that, you should pass. And even at like long after the 3 days had passed, because I think I'd seen that guy on a Friday, and I was asked to drug test on like a Tuesday. So let's see, that's Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So by Tuesday, I should have been clean, even if I had done cocaine with that guy. But I was still failing these drug tests for cocaine. Even on like Friday of the next, like a week, you know, goes by, and I'm still failing. And like by then, nobody's believing me. Like everybody is like, Kayla, just come, just tell us, you know, just be honest. And I'm like, I am being honest. I'm not doing cocaine. I'm not doing cocaine, you know. And I'm telling him, he knows this whole week is going, because I'm just like freaking out the whole week. We were like casually dating at this point. We had already met. And so I'm telling him, you know, I'm not doing cocaine. I'm freaking out. And he's like, okay, you know, he doesn't even know me that well, but he's like, okay, you know. So one night during this week, we wind up going to a meeting, and we leave.
Yo, hey, her boyfriend's calling cap on this big time. He's like smiling, just like swiddling in the chair. She's probably trying to get compassion from Marc, so Marc will give her some more money or something. Because Marc's a freaking creepy weirdo.
Meeting, and I couldn't find my cell phone after the meeting, so I'm with him and one of our friends, and we're looking all over the car for my phone, can't find the phone. So I decided to dump out my purse. It's one of my things I'm famous for, is dumping out all my belongings everywhere and looking for things. So I dump out my purse, and I look on the ground at all my belongings, and there's a baggie of cocaine in my belongings. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't want to alert him or my friend, because they're gonna be like, Kayla, you have cocaine, you know. But then at the same time, like, this is crazy, like, how is this happening to me? So I alert him and my friend, and I'm like, this is insane. I know you guys aren't gonna believe me, but I just found cocaine in my stuff. Like, here's a baggie of cocaine. And they're like, they had a private talk without me, I guess, at one point, and they were like, okay, this is crazy. And she, you know, we're going to choose to believe her, which I still don't know why, because I wouldn't believe somebody in this situation. Like, if it was him, I would have been like, yeah, you're a liar. You're doing cocaine. Obviously, you have cocaine in your stuff. But so he advised me to, because I didn't know what to do. I was like, should I tell my sober living, you know, the lady who what would you call her? The sober living mom, the house manager, yeah. And so he advised me, you know, well, call her up right now and, you know, tell her what happened. You found it. Because our thinking was, what guilty person would call and tell her, like, hey, I just found cocaine in my belongings?
They teach you that, oh yeah, as long as you're honest,
yeah.
you know, like, it'll...
So I called and I told her, and
Bad idea. I don't know where they think that's a good idea, but that is a terrible, terrible idea.
what do you want me to do with it? And she was like, well, bring it back. And so I brought it back, and that night, like, all the girls stayed in bunk beds in like a whole separate room. Well, that night I was asked to take all my belongings and stay on the couch. And the crazy thing is that, like, you know, I'm on the couch with all my stuff, and all the girls come home and they're like, Kayla, what's wrong? What's happening? And I'm telling them all the story, and they're all asking a bunch of questions except for one. And I'm not going to say her name because I don't have any proof to this day. I have no proof. Maybe she had nothing to do with it. But there was this one girl in the house who was not asking me any questions. And she was just sitting there, like, just smirking at me. Just like this little smirk on her face. And the interesting thing about the whole thing is that when I was in the rehab, because I'd been in the rehab with all these girls. When I was in the rehab, her best friend in the rehab and me were like arch enemies, okay? Like, we did not get along. We hated each other. And
I think she might be telling
enough,
the truth.
Friday that I had, it was like the day before.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of starting to believe her, man. What do you guys think in the chat? Like, I actually am, like, kind of starting to believe her, because this is such a crazy story. Like,
the day before I tested positive for cocaine, her friend had come over to visit our sober living house. So, you know, I don't have any proof of this, but I know that while we were in the rehab, this girl and her friend had actually gotten caught for, like, framing another girl for, not for drug use, but for, like, stealing something. And so I have my suspicions that, like, somehow they were, like, putting cocaine into my food, or I don't know what but, like, I know for a fact that I was not using cocaine during that whole week. And
that's crazy.
Anyways,
That's
of course,
actually
nobody believed me. I wouldn't expect
story,
anybody to
dude.
believe me, and I was asked to leave, and it was.
I don't know, man. I mean, like, it's such a wild story that, like, either she's, like, the most sociopathic, crazy, pathological liar I've ever met to this day, but it's such a crazy, intricate story that it's, like, it would almost be difficult to make this up. But, I mean, if she's as crazy as Ryan was saying, then, I mean, maybe it's possible. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. Hit that like button, too.
But
No, it's like it's a very unbelievable story, and And the only reason it's so unbelievable, like, anytime I've had a story like that, it's like nobody believes me because I'm lying.
Like, I'm honestly telling the truth, but I don't expect anybody to believe me because I wouldn't believe anybody. If somebody told me this story, I'd be like, okay, yeah, sure.
So what is your drug today?
My drug is currently heroin and meth.
My drug is whatever I can get my hands on.
How do you guys support yourself now?
Well, he actually, surprisingly, he has a job. He wakes up and goes to work every day. He's like the only person I know who could do that. So he goes to work. When I feel like it, I'm not proud of this, but I go to stores and I boost. I do have some morals. I don't steal from people. Like, I would never.
Brett, you told me about a very interesting hustle that you had.
Oh, yeah, that was a long time ago. Yeah. I used to rob Toys R Us's. I had a key to the jewel. Oh, can I say Toys R Us? Yeah. The key to the jewel cases, and they used to sell video games and sell them, and we could get, like, between me and my ex-wife, we could get like 10 from each store.
Yeah, what did she say? Heroin. Like, not many people in Southern California even do heroin anymore, to my knowledge.
With the jewel cases, and Toys R Us has no security, and
Yeah, that's true.
so it was really easy. I don't steal now. I don't boost or anything like that because I'm horrible at it, and I tend to go to jail more than I make money. So it just wasn't very efficient for me. But with having the key to it, made it pretty easy. And like I
What
said,
would you get every?
That's an interesting hustle,
store.
actually.
so we would get, I'd go in and get about like five games, and then my ex-wife would get 5, and we'd
They still got tar in LA. They got that gunpowder tar.
we'd get about 10 games per Toys R Us, and then we'd hit about 4 or 5 per day.
Does the tar have fentanyl in it though?
Games said like I said, we get brand new ones, like they would just come out, and they were like $50, $50 to $60, and then we'd sell them as used. So we'd get, for a top of the line brand new game, we'd get $20 maybe, 20, 25, 30. But like I said, we were getting 10 per store, 5 stores a day. We were getting 50 games a day that were selling, and you do the math on that. It's a pretty lucrative little come up there. But we did have to.
Man, he just seems like this is like his greatest accomplishment in life is this Toys R Us scheme. He's like, it was a pretty lucrative endeavor, if you ask me. We had a really good thing going there for a while. Yeah, great thing. It was really lucrative. It was innovative. It was great. It was great. We really had a great thing going. We had this Toys R Us thing. It was great.
Like go from, there's only so many Toys R Us and so many GameStops in California. So we did have to go from like San Diego to Vancouver, Washington, and everything, in between Nevada.
Yeah, in Minnesota, there was so the last time I saw like gunpowder tar was like 2020, early 2020 in Minnesota. And it was weird because like in the early 2010s, all the tar in Minneapolis was sold by the Mexicans, but by like 2015, by like 2016 and plus, the Mexicans didn't really have any big like heroin distributors on the streets that I knew of, and I pretty much, Minneapolis is a small enough town where like all the junkies are gonna know the biggest suppliers and stuff. So it's kind of interesting that the blacks got a hold of gunpowder tar, because in the early 2010s in Minnesota, Mexicans had tar and blacks had number 4 Mexican, chunk. We would get white chunk, gray chunk, and tan chunk, and it was number 4 Sinaloa Mountaintop Poppy Field pure heroin.
Reno, Las Vegas, Arizona, anywhere they had those stores on the West Coast, we would go. But we always had to come. We couldn't go too far because we always had to come back to LA, because that's where our connection was. That's where our plug was. So we had a pretty short.
Yo, shout out Fargo Block Boys. Shout out Marcel Snow. Shout out Big Lou, what it do. Shout out Fargo. Shout out all y'all. 1954 Telecaster. Bass Big Baits. What it do. What it do. What it do. I'm looking for other people in the chat. Paula Famaluraro. Thomas Huth. Joe Smith. What's up? What's up? Thank you guys for joining the live. Like, comment, subscribe, donate if you can. I'm trying to get a new camera and a new laptop so I can make more edited videos. We're gonna keep going. Let's see if we believe what these guys are saying. But this guy, man, he is so proud of this Toys R Us scheme. It is just his greatest life accomplishment. So let's go.
on where we could roam.
Is it hard being a couple living homeless?
Yeah.
It's actually better, I think. At
It's
least
better for
than
her.
yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's like she couldn't do it on her. Like she couldn't be.
It's just too dangerous. It's just
by
dangerous
herself.
for a woman by herself. Yeah.
Hey, what up, Powwow 612, Minneapolis in the building. Hey, if we got any cats from Minnesota, Minneapolis, Hennepin County, Ramsey County, Anoka County, let's go, let's get it. 612 in this bitch, bang bang, gang gang, 20s, 10s gang, bang bang, north side bitch. 25th and Aldrich, 25th and Bryant. Let's go, let's get it.
And I mean, it's not hard. It's not hard for me in the sense that look at her, she's gorgeous, because I know she loves me, and she's like, But every guy out there is like obviously trying.
What is it, Paula Famalaro? Paula Falamaro.
Talk to her, get it, and then she gets lots of offers to.
What's up, Richard?
Yeah, lots of offers for different
Life would be a lot
things.
easier for her, if you know what I mean.
That's, that's not my thing.
Compromise some values, but she's not.
I'd rather be broke and eat ramen noodles than, which no judgment to any woman that does that, but it's just not my thing. So,
Where do you see yourselves going in the next 5 years?
sober, definitely sober. We were
Sober,
really happy
for
and
sure.
doing really good when we were sober. I mean, for me, I was the happiest I've ever been when I was sober. So, and he's actually the one. I always thought because he relapsed when we first got together, and I always from then on thought I was the responsible one, and then I was the better one.
Even though I'm
and
the one
now,
with the job and the one.
now he's the one telling me
yeah,
you need to get in rehab. Come on, let's go. So it's interesting how that kind of happens. Don't ever think you're better than anybody if you're an addict or that you have it figured out, because you don't. I guarantee you
Voigt,
don't.
what's up in the chat?
Your roles will reverse if you're a couple. So.
We split up for a little while because I was
I don't know, man. So I know it's hard to judge someone's character based on a video on Softwhiteunderbelly, but she isn't the most unlikable person. I don't know, man. What do you guys think? Do you guys think Ryan kind of because I mean we know Ryan wasn't the most stable guy, and I'm not trying to talk bad on his name. I'm just trying to go back to that time, and she just, I don't know, she doesn't seem like the worst person ever. I mean, she definitely has her quirks about her, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the chat about that.
I went to my family's house on Christmas and just stayed up there. I was so sick of life, and I've been trying to get her to do something different. And I was just so sick of this life, and I had some medical issues, and I was about to die.
Yo, shout out Arizona, shout out Sun City, shout out Paradise Valley, shout out Phoenix, shout out I stayed in Paradise Valley for a little bit. I stayed in Glendale, Arizona. So yeah, big shout out to Arizona.
I had a hernia that was hanging out of my, my guts were literally just hanging out. It was bad. I was in really bad shape, and I was about to die. And I went to my family's house for a Christmas dinner, and they just took.
It's the toxic we'll go into that a little bit after this, but it's the Doomed Marriage series on Ryan's videos. I showed it in the beginning of the stream.
You're gonna die. My brother was like, "What are you doing?" You know, and so I literally like just didn't leave. I went to and I stayed up. I didn't leave. Like I stayed there. I didn't leave for like 9 months.
Yeah, so he basically came back out here for me, which means I need to get my butt in gear and do something different. So
Yeah, and she got herself into a bad situation. Well, I can't say she got herself into because I can't.
Okay, so now we've watched the interview. That's about as good as we're gonna get. Now let's go. Oh damn, lush ones on Soft White Underbelly. Hey, if anyone could hook me up with Marc, Lacia, I want to get on Soft White Underbelly too. So let's go to Ryan Leone. Okay, Ryan Leone, Doomed Marriage. Let's check this out real quick. If anyone can get me on Soft White Underbelly, man, I would love to do it. I really want to get this channel booming. So let's hear what Ryan. Let's hear Ryan's part of the Doomed Marriage. We'll go to the beginning. Sorry for the ads, you guys. I don't have premium. I'm broke. That's why I ask for donations like a bum.
But the night that we got married, we got a bunch of coke and we smoked it, and we smoked crack all night. I think I had been off heroin. I may have been off heroin. I think I was off heroin the week that she was out here before we got married. I was off heroin. And the night we got married, I went to go pick up more coke at like 5 a.m, and the coke dealer had heroin, so I did a speedball at the house, and that speedball just sent me right back into full-blown heroin addiction instantly. I swear to God, if you relapse with the speedball, like mixing coke and heroin, it intensifies your urge to keep going the next day, and everyone knows.
Oh man, is that an understatement if I have ever heard one? My last like bender, when I don't know if any of you guys were subscribed to me in March of this year, but I was doing fentanyl and cocaine speedballs, and man, that is an addiction. That is like an unstoppable addiction. Like Ryan is not lying about that. Like that is just big facts.
When you can do heroin 2 days, but
shout out Blake Radke in the chat.
Third day, you're physically hooked on heroin. So heroin addicts try to just do it 2 days in a row. You always see people relapse, try to do it for 2 days. It's very hard to do that because that voice in your head tells you to keep going. Then you do the third day and you're fucked. So I'm strung out on heroin. She lived in Denver, and I didn't know much about her. I mean, we connected on Facebook, and she gave me her number, and I called her. And she was just like a really good listener, you know? That's always a big thing with women, you know? If they're a good listener, then I tend to cling on to them, you know? And I just want to vent to someone, I guess. And so we really connected that way, but I didn't know much about her, you know? And selfish addiction at the time, so it's not like I was asking questions. Like, I'm in a healthy relationship now, and like I talk to my wife all the time, and we have beautiful conversations.
Peace, Ryan,
and I'm happy. But with this one, it was very strange from the beginning. So she was an executive assistant out in Colorado, in Littleton.
She never mentioned that.
The same town that the Columbine shooting happened in. It's right outside of Denver. And she was working there, and she also had a 5-year-old son, but the dad had taken off. I didn't really know much details about it, but I know that she had a kid and that she lived with a roommate in a house in Denver. And she was making good money out there. I don't know what it was, but I mean, $80,000 a year, maybe. That might be more. I don't know. She had when we met, she had money. I don't know, maybe 80,000 is too much, but she was making a good salary. And, you know, after we got married and we smoked crack all night, she flew back to Denver.
I thought she said she didn't like cocaine. Remember that whole story about she was like, oh, I hate cocaine. Everyone knows that's not my drug. I would never relapse on cocaine. But Ryan's, so there's already a little crack in her story.
You know, back to her life. And we never really talked about the logistics of it. I was still on federal probation and switching states.
So yeah, I'll tell you a little bit what put me in the hospital. So when I went to college in January, I got a check for my student loan. I got like a $10,000 check. And I was doing good in the beginning. I was looking to buy a car. The used car market, it was like impossible for me to find a car. And I got, you know, tired of looking for a car and not being able to get one. Well, eventually I was like, you know what? One time won't hurt. So just like Ryan said, when you do a speedball one time, there's no one time. So I kept doing speedball after speedball after speedball, and then I would stop for a little bit, and I was on methadone too, but the fentanyl I was doing was so strong it would override the methadone. But I would do speedball after speedball after speedball. I'd quit and I'd stop. So basically, when March came around, I ran out of all my money, and I had a bunch of old speedball cottons. And this coke I was getting was so good that I could do a rinse of one cotton and get a bell ringer. Like, this shit was like, literally, I mean, I was paying $100 a gram for it, but like, it was so good that a rinse would give you a bell ringer. So basically, I was like, went down to this little basement at the place I was staying, and I had a bunch of cottons. I put like 4 or 5 of them in a spoon, and just like, you know, I don't know if you guys know how to do a cotton rinse, but you just put the water in the spoon, kind of just like smash the cottons, squeeze them, try to squeeze all the residue out, and did a shot. And like 20 minutes later, I felt I got cotton fever, which I've gotten cotton fever many times. Cotton fever is basically when there's bacteria in the water from the injection you do. But this cotton fever kept getting worse and worse and worse. And like my heart was beating like super, super fast. And like I knew something was wrong. And luckily I'm very educated and I'm very knowledgeable about the potentials of what can happen in a situation like that. And I knew that endocarditis was a very big possibility. So I sat and debated it like, do I go to the hospital? Do I not? And I'm like, I was like, I can't take the risk. I need to go to the hospital. So I go to the hospital. My blood was septic. And they were giving me, they had to give me IV antibiotics because it was so bad. And I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. Got my blood tests done, got everything checked, and surprisingly, no Hep C, no HIV, nothing, and God bless the Lord. Like, it's amazing. It is literally amazing that I made it out of that, you guys. But let's get back into Ryan's story.
That's complicated, but she wanted me to go out there. Now, I had that $6,000 from selling foreign rights to my book, which was never even published, but I got the money for it. And I don't know, I think I was down to like 2,500 maybe out of 6,000. I mean, when she was here, I was buying like the best cocaine I could get, like Moon Rock, MDMA, and or just, you know, constantly going to bars and running up $200-$300 tabs. She was a fan of my book. My book was pretty obscure at the time. I mean, I had like, you know, a little following, but not, you know, anyway. Anyway, she was like one of the hardcore fans, and I ended up just jumping into a relationship with her, which was weird. It's kind of at a stagnant point in my life where I was trying to write another book and I didn't know what to write about, and I kind of just jumped into it just to see where it took me.
All right, guys, I'm trying to reduce the lag here.
You know, in retrospect, that was a very, very, very toxic decision because she had a child. And that's the most tragic part of this story, is that there was a 5-year-old kid involved. With the rest of the money that I had, I want to say it was $2,500. I asked my friend Steve, who's a really good underground hip-hop artist here in LA. His name's Riggy Marz. I'll leave a link
Shout
for
out
his
Riggy
music.
Marz. Hey,
he's coming out with an album.
Riggy Marz, if you see this, man, I know I DM'd you on Instagram, man. Hey, I want to come on your channel. I'd like to do an interview with you. If anyone can get into contact with Riggy, let me know. Big fan. Would love to have you on the show, brother.
Really soon. He's really good. But that's who I was hanging out with in Pasadena, and I asked him if he could hook up like some quantities of drugs, because my plan was to smuggle a bunch of like exotic, hard to find drugs in California they probably didn't have in Denver, and bring it to Denver, go like live out there and just live off selling these drugs. That was my delusional plan at the time. So Steve told me that he had a friend in Pasadena, we'll call him Bob, and he told me that he knew a guy that just had like ridiculous amounts of weight, you know, kind of like in How I Made $500,000, like was that kind of person. But he's like, he won't do business with me because Steve had pistol whipped him. Now Steve is like a scrawny white guy, right? I'm not saying he doesn't look intimidating, but like I usually don't believe people when they tell me stuff. And he told me that he pistol whipped this drug dealer. And I hadn't known him that long, so I didn't know how, like, Steve's a psychopath, you know? He's 16 months sober right now, and he's doing great. He's in AA, and he's, like, turned his life around. But back then, I mean, he was a straight gangster, you know? And he was, like, the only person I knew in Pasadena.
Yeah, hey, if anyone could get me on Softwhiteunderbelly, like, if anyone can find Marc Lacia's contact info, please, man. If Marc somehow stumbles across this video, please, man, I would greatly love to come on your store. I got a crazy story. You know, obviously I got a YouTube. I got a connection with Leone. And I think I have a pretty interesting story, so I'd love to come on the show, man.
And I guess he had pistol whipped this guy that had all these drugs. But he gave me his number, and I called him. He's like, just call him and see, maybe he'll do something with you. And like, he was my kind of guy, you know, he talked more like me. We instantly connected when I called him, and I'm like, hey, look, I got your number from Steve. I know you guys had a problem. And like, he straight told me on the phone, this guy, Bob, it's like, yeah, Steve pistol whipped me. I couldn't believe that was true. I was like, Jesus Christ. And he ended up letting me come over. My ex-wife is in Denver at the time, and I'm planning on picking up drugs and flying to Denver, you know, and like just smuggling them, which is very hard to do right now. Like, airport security is hardcore. So I met up with this guy, and sure enough, he had ridiculous amounts of drugs. You know, he had vial upon vial of ketamine. He had vial upon vial of...
What do you want?
Want a job that I don't hate.
Man, I wonder where all this ad revenue from Ryan's channel is going to right now.
Vial upon vial of LSD, liquid LSD,
question.
water acid. Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
And I forget how much I gave him, but I gave him a lot, you know, like over $2,000. And he just hooked me up, like really fat. I had this huge sack of like Molly, I had MDMA, moon rocks. And he gave me a lot of GHB, he gave me cocaine. I just had a bunch of different drugs. And I didn't go right to Denver. I went back to Santa Barbara and I sold some of the drugs. And I think I got like, made like $5,000 and I put that in my bank account. And I still had some of the moon rocks left and I still had some of the LSD. I had a vial of LSD. And I told my ex-wife because she was like in the rave scene. I mean, the more corporate, going to nightclubs and listening to, EDM music, like that kind of person, but does ecstasy all the time. She's like an ecstasy princess. Kind of like the Blair in my book. She was kind of like that, but I wrote that book way before I met her, but she was like all into electronic music. So she knew a lot of people that would probably want acid. She arranged for it and she said that that's what they wanted. So I decided just to take a vial LSD with 100 hits to Denver. I was going to sell the hits for $20 on a sugar cube because this acid was legit, Steve and I tried it, he did it alone. I did it a few times with some of my friends, but it was like really strong acid. And so I decided to fly out to Denver with this little vial, really knowing nothing about this girl that I just married. I mean, it like completely clueless.
Hey,
I forgot.
Hey, 1954 Telecaster, I just made you a mod, by the way.
To mention, when I was with Bob, he asked me if I wanted any liquid Xanax. I'd never heard of that, That's like an obscure drug, I guess. I mean, I'd heard of like...
Hey, once again, Ben Case, shout out for the donation. I just made you a moderator too. If anyone who donates to the channel, I'll make you a moderator. I'll shout you out in my channel. I can advertise any of your things. It really helps towards like me. I'm saving up for a new laptop and a better camera so I can make more edited videos and the such.
Xanax and like generic ones that people pressed in pill presses, but I had never heard of liquid Xanax, and he had like gallons of it. And he's like, yeah, it's real. You get a syringe, you pull out, it's 100, pull it all the way to 100, and that's one hit. And that's taking his Xanax bar. So he gave me this like little pint full of it. It was like a pint of alcohol, and he just filled it up and he just gave it to me for free. So in addition to all the drugs that I bought off him, he also gave me this liquid Xanax, which was completely new to me. I mean, like I said, I never even heard of it. So I plan to fly to Denver.
Shout out.
I have like $5,000 in my bank account. I think even more because I flipped all those drugs and like super quick. And I just felt good. Like, I'm like, okay, I have money in the bank. I'm going to bring this vial. I'm going to make a shitload of money. I'm going to sell each hit for $20. It's going to be cool. So the night before, my ex-wife calls me and she's like, hey, can you get some Coke? And I already sold the Coke that he had given me up in Santa Barbara. She's like, I really want you to bring some of that good LA Coke to Denver. She said, it's better in LA. Which is probably true. I don't know though. So I said, sure. And, I was staying at a hotel in like Inglewood.
No problem, bro. Nope. Ben Case,
waiting
shout out.
to take
no
a flight
problem,
the next day to Denver. So I called my connection and I said, hey, can you do an 8-ball white? In different counties, people say different stuff. Like a lot of people call meth white. A lot of people call cocaine white. A lot of people call meth clear. It's very confusing. I don't know. It's different. People say different things, and that's how people misconstrue what you say over the phone, because when I met up with him, I was expecting an 8-ball of Coke, and he brought me an 8-ball of China white heroin. Don't remember what I paid for it, but I bought it, and I was like, hey, I really need Coke. Can you get more? Or can you bring me Coke at the hotel? He said that he would. So I have this 8-ball of China White, and,
Yeah, I'm actually working on starting a Patreon right now. Once I get monetized, I'm probably going to start a Patreon. That's why I'm going to be holding off on personal stories and stuff until I get monetized, and I got a game plan going. So, yep.
The habit from after I got married. I'm chipping away. I'm not doing much, half grams and stuff, and I have to go to, like, you know, in California.
Yes.
I don't know how it is in other states, but
Yes, this is he's explaining. Okay, so just for anyone who's just joining in now, Ryan's the doomed marriage, the toxic ex-wife series. She was just on Softwhiteunderbelly. We just watched a good portion of that, and now we're watching Ryan's side of the story.
law that just got passed, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, where, you know, pharmacy.
My friend used to pay $163 for car insurance. Now look how much he pays. Most of
You know, pharmacies, it's discretionary upon pharmacies who want to actually participate in the program, but some pharmacies sell insulin syringes, you know, so you can just go up to the counter and buy them. They give you weird looks for sure, you know, and
Yeah,
like I always
that's an
fuck with them. I'm like,
understatement.
yeah, it's for heroin, thanks. And they're just like, what the fuck? So he's like some Asian lady, and she's like, oh. So I buy a pack of needles.
So true.
And I'm super
So
stoked.
true.
I'm like, oh, cool. I got this 8-ball. I didn't know what I was going to do in Denver. I was going to be out. I had like maybe a gram or two at black tar. I was like, fuck, I'm screwed if I can't get it in Colorado. But I was pretty confident I could just go to a methadone clinic and find junkies. You can, you know. So I'm sitting in the parking lot at this pharmacy where I bought the needles, and I think I have like a Monster Energy drink can, and I make it into a makeshift cooker. Like, you know, throughout the years, I've like perfected the origami of like crushing the Monster can, twisting it, and then like making a perfect cooker out of it.
Me too. I would do the exact same thing. So you twist the Monster can, and then like you twist it off so you get the bottom of the Monster can, and then you almost rip a side of it so it's like a little holder, or you can put it on the ground, crush all the stuff up, then you have the holder, and then you can light it, get it all mixed up. I've done the exact same thing. I'm sure many of you guys have too.
So I make this cooker out of this Monster can and throw in like pretty small amount of China white. It's California, it's probably fentanyl and lactose or something, you know. It's probably not real like East Coast China white. So I put it in the spoon, I cook it up, and as I'm cooking it up, a cop pulls up, and I'm like, fuck, I have the China white and I have the liquid Xanax in the car, like in a pint, so it like looks like I've been drinking. It's just like chilling like on my passenger side. I don't know, for whatever reason it was. And I'm like, fuck. So I take the cooker and I put it under my seat.
You don't use the inside of the can, though.
I get the 8-ball of China white and I keister it, stick it up my butthole. And I look at the pint and I just fucking grab it and I just drink it. It's liquid Xanax. Who knows how much Xanax I just took? I did it because I didn't want the cop to see. I didn't want him to see the container. And so I drank it real quick, and then I just put it under the seat, you know, so it was an empty bottle. And, you know, I'm in Inglewood and I'm white, and it's...
Well, why would you, like, that's so dumb, though. The cop would never suspect that the liquid is Xanax. That was kind of dumb on his behalf.
Predominantly black area. And the cop comes up to me and, you know, he's like, what are you doing? And I just told him, I was like, hey, I'm flying to Denver tomorrow. I got a hotel. I told him which hotel I was staying at. Like, what are you doing at the pharmacy? I was like, I don't know. I was just stocking up on snacks and stuff. He's like, do you have the snacks? Luckily, I bought some snacks, and like I showed him in the back of it was in my back seat. Showed him this bag of like candy, you know, shit heroin addicts buy. And he's like, okay, cool. Have a nice night. So I'm like, all right, cool. And so he leaves, and I'm such a junkie that you would think I would.
Yeah, same with Minnesota. We never really had to heat it either because it was number 4 white, tan, or gray number 4 heroin. We never really had to dissolve it either, unless it was black tar.
Out of the parking lot, but of course I just like watch. I like wave to him as he's leaving and like pull out the cooker and I start cooking it up. So I shoot the China White and
Man, so many advertisements. So many advertisements. I'm sorry, you guys. And we gotta watch a 15-minute advertisement. It was when he was doing the best.
you know, he's like, "What are you doing?" And I just no idea how much I drank. I woke up the next morning, like I blacked out, right? Hard. I woke up the next morning and I was at my hotel, but I was parked in my car. Like I was just sitting in the driver's seat and I was just hunched over my steering wheel. So I figured that I must have made it back to the hotel, but I couldn't take it any longer. And I just nodded out and passed out on the steering wheel. I'm like, fuck, what time is it? I forgot what my flight was like at 10 in the morning or something. And I look at my clock and it's like 9:14. I'm like, fuck, you know, I'm like a mile away from the airport. So I go to it and I missed the flight. I'm like, oh my God. And I had taken the acid and I'd put in a cologne sample vial, you know, that like they give you at like Nordstrom's or Macy's. And I put an entire vial in one of those cologne things. So I had that in like my DOP kit with like my razors. That's what I was going to take on the plane. I was actually going to walk on the plane with it. Just, you know, with anything that I've ever done that's super sketchy. I mean, you get caught on an airplane with 100 hits of liquid LSD, you're going to prison for like 40 fucking years. That's how the feds look at that. It's a very serious crime. And, you know, I was planning on doing it. And now I took that liquid Xanax and it's just like coming in waves where I'm like cool for a little bit. And then I'm just like, you know, belligerent again. And I'm belligerent at the airport.
It probably wasn't liquid Xanax. It was probably an RC benzo, for sure. Like, it definitely was not liquid Xanax. Probably fluelprazolam, clonazepam, flubronazolam, flubronazepam, etc., etc.
Because I missed the flight. And I'm like, dude, can I fly standby? And she's like, no, you have to.
Ryan's ex's name was Kayla. She was just on Softwhiteunderbelly. Go check. It's earlier in the stream. I played that.
Their ticket. It's $700. I'm like, fuck it. And I just gave her my debit card. Like, whatever. She's like, okay, it's at 4:00. I'm like, okay. So I call my ex-wife and I'm like, hey, I missed the first flight. I had a little accident last night. I drank like liquid Xanax. And she's just like, what the fuck? And I'm like, look, I didn't do it on purpose. I'm getting on the next flight. It's at 4. She's like, all right, cool. So I went to the terminal and I sat down. I had a book and I just nodded out, passed out, woke up at like 11 o'clock at night, missed the second flight that I paid for. I paid like $700 for that flight. And,
wow.
You know, some security woke me up. They're like, are you all right? I'm like, man, I just got surgery and I'm on these super sedative medications. And they're like, oh my God, sir, we're so sorry to hear that. And they like grabbed a wheelchair and they were like escorting me to like vending machines and like buying Cokes for me. I was like, dude, I felt like such a scumbag, you know? And anyway, so, you know, of course my ex-wife's blowing my phone up.
Hey, what up, Indianapolis?
What the fuck's going on? And I have to tell her. Now I'm like, hey, I missed the second flight too. I'm like, this whatever I drank last night, I'm going in and out of consciousness. And like at this point, she's livid, you know? It's like gonna foreshadow what our marriage is gonna look like. I mean, she has a 5.
Funny thing about the Reddit thing is when my UPS